Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Out Loud. I'm Junie Moon, your host, and I'm thrilled you're here. We have an awesome show for you today. Not a shocker. So I'm so excited you're here. But before we dive in and I tell you who my guest is, I want to give you a little peek into what this is about and who I am and why I have this show. So I am a transformational coach. I am a shadow work facilitator, certified shadow work facilitator. Basically, my mission is to help people get out of their own way so that they can live their life fully. I lower the volume on their inner critic so that they can soar in whatever they want. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to have another way to reach more people with more skills and more transformational possibilities? And so I decided to do Life Out Loud. I created this platform to bring on the people that are making a difference in so many people's lives. These are the leaders. These are the transformational healers. These are people that walk their talk and are really stepping out boldly in life, and people I think you would like to know. So today I have an amazing powerhouse woman, Tara Gilvar. I hope I pronounced that right. I should have asked you. Tara Gilvar. She'll tell you about how to pronounce it in a second. So, but let me tell you a little bit about her. Tara is a CEO and founder of BIG, which is Believe, Inspire, and Grow. And Tara has acquired over 25 years of experience building brands and developing marketing campaigns. She has extensive background in public relations and marketing expertise, and she's helped promote some of the biggest companies with consumer products out there. She's acquired a keen ability to build strategic marketing campaigns that demonstrate concrete results. So she knows what she's doing. Since leaving the corporate world in a full-time capacity, which was about 15 years ago, to raise her 3 kids, she started to utilize her marketing expertise to initiate and implement successful fundraising campaigns for a variety of nonprofit organizations. Simultaneously, she continued her work as a marketing consultant for various clients. Normally, I don't go so deep into people's bios, but there's so much here, and I'm going to keep going. So bear with me because there's so much here, and she's so awesome. There's so many things. However, with all of that, working alone without a proper support system, which is a big thing we're going to talk about, she was forced to choose between successfully maintaining her family responsibilities or pursuing her professional passions, and her family won out. Common story, we hear that often. After gathering nearly 40 people from her town in her living room to discuss the pursuit of their life's dreams, one February morning in 2009, Tara realized immediately how the development of BIG, B-I-G, could offer safe and supportive environments where women could gain positive peer support, discover and pursue their personal passions, and ultimately thrive. BIG believes all women have gifts and talents that deserve to be shared with the world. It's a concept that she has been driven to share with women around the country. And so I knew that this was someone to have on this show because she has made a big impact on so many people's lives. So welcome, Tara.
Hello, Junie. How are you?
I'm good.
My mother sends you that bio because it sounds like something my mother must have had very long.
A lot of times I tweak bios, and I did tweak it a little bit because I wanted everyone to hear like the meat and potatoes of it. But there really was so much because it wasn't just what happened in the beginning of your life of corporate and leaving, but what you moved into and the reasons you did. And I know that's why we're here today to talk about that. But before we do, I really would love people to get a sense of who you are. Like, what's been your life's journey to this point of BIG?
Sure. Well, thank you. When you read my bio and you talk about that, I mean, my life's not that much different than most women's lives. We all have different chapters and different roles. I mean, some of what you talked about was years and years ago. So what started BIG, if that's where you want me to start, is that, I was this woman who, and we'll talk a little bit about the big shift and when women have to make a shift. But for me, when I was looking to make a shift was when I had my first child. I worked in a great advertising agency up in Boston called Mullen, and I was important, or I thought I was important. I was interesting at cocktail parties. When someone would ask me, so what do you do? I had a really interesting answer because I worked on some of these big brands. And one of the brands that I worked on was the Timberland Company. At that time, back in the 90s, it was a very hot brand. And then I did the ball drop in Times Square, which was very cool. I had great credentials, better than Dick Clark back then. But I was 7.5 months pregnant also. And so for me, when I thought I was going to be this, wunderkind that was going to do this differently than every other woman out there, and I was going to be the mom, and I was going to be the career person, I was going to be cool, I was going to keep it going, I was going
Do it all.
I was going to be different than all those people who couldn't figure it out. I didn't know why they couldn't figure it out, And then for me, when I had this baby, it was like, wow, let me do the math here. I'm going to spend less time with this child than more time, and travel and try to do this. And I said no. And so I stepped out of the workforce, which defined me at the time. And it was a long journey to figure out, who am I if I'm not this business card, or I'm not working on this brand, and who am I personally? And for me, I struggled, as a lot of women do, when you don't have that security system anymore. I had 3 more children. I had 2 more children, so a total of 3 children. I'm very fortunate. Listen, I don't want to be the person who complains. I mean, the luxury of being able to stay home and raise your children is a gift. And I very much love that gift. But there was a part of me that wasn't fulfilled. There was a part of me that had more to give, and thought, I could be, would I be the vice president of this company, or would I get that promotion? I didn't know the answer. And for me, I traveled, my husband's career took off, and I followed him with our family. I was a great, spouse in terms of his support. I did a lot of over the top birthday parties for my kids because I was looking for that purpose. There's a lot of ponies, a lot of make your own Sundays and things like that. I channeled the energy into my children, which a lot of women do. And it still wasn't totally fulfilling. One day I dropped my son off at the middle school, and I saw a bumper sticker on a teacher's car, and it said, "Remember who you wanted to be." And it was like an awakening for me, because I wasn't that woman. I wasn't that person that I thought I was going to be, prior to having children. And it was a little sad. It was a little sad, but it was an awakening that said, okay, now you have to do something about this. This is, there's no more pushing this under the rug. And so what I did was I sent a simple email to everybody I knew in my community, and it said, we're still smart. And maybe we could find a way to find fulfillment in our life on a professional side of our life, because my personal life was fortunately, able to handle. Maybe I could do something other than shopping for, 5 matching plates at Home Goods that would feel fulfilling. But I wanted to be there for my kids. At that time, my youngest was in kindergarten, and you don't want to miss those moments. And so I sent the email out, and 42 women did show up in my living room.
Wow.
And that was the start. That was a very early start in 2009 of this organization called BIG.
That's just amazing. Well, first of all, I just want to acknowledge, oh, there's a little feedback. I'm hoping that stops. Just the fact that you chose your family, that you really wanted to be there for them and show up as mom, and letting go of that security and the identity. That's a big piece I hear. It's like you were being fed in a large way with the work you were doing. But then there was this crossroads, and it's a beautiful thing that you did. I'm curious, what was the time frame between leaving corporate and being with your kids to that point of, like, I'm being called to do something else and I'm not fulfilled?
Well, my honest time frame, the one that I didn't admit to at the time, was 13 years.
Yep.
13 years from the time that I left. And, statistically, that's the average amount of time that a woman spends out of the workforce, whether they're in corporate or not, is 13 years. And that's for lots of reasons now. I mean, for me, it was about children, but for women in general, as we've now, progressed in this organization for 7.5 years, women have to pivot in their lives for multiple times. We're nurtured. We're the earth's nurturers.
Yep.
And you shouldn't deny that. And so if it's a health issue for you or your children or your spouse or your parents, we will reorganize our life, because that's our calling at that time. So health is a big issue. Financially, taking care of, if we have to go back into the workforce because, there was a downturn a couple of years back and everybody was, not sure the mortgages were going to be paid, and women had to go and change their lives to make that work. There was a lot more people working in Starbucks, 5 and 6 years ago to get the healthcare benefits, and women were the ones that took the hit to reorganize their life. And, we are willing to do what it takes to take care of the people in our lives, and we want to live those lives. And so that's why it's important to have that fit, that balance. And you hear that regardless of where they are on the spectrum, whether they're stay-at-home moms or whether they're big corporate executives, they always need to be the nurturer in the family.
Yep. And when you say that, I'm like, women rock. I mean, seriously, we do. Men rock too. But I mean, what we bring to the table, how we are the holders, the nurturers, we are the sustainers in so many ways. And we do tend to be the ones that put our life on hold to a certain extent to make sure that things keep flowing. So, the topic today was, take the leap or step back. And I hear it often, people being afraid to take a leap, to move forward. So here you were, 13 years, doing what you had to do, showing up the best you can. What allowed you to take this leap? What were some of the steps that supported you in this next, big chapter of your life?
Well, I will give this advice in the context of, if it happened to me, it probably happens to hundreds of thousands of women, right? Because I think I was relatively ordinary and just like millions of women like me. I'll give you a little, I always tell this when we start, it started when I was 4 years old, right? When I was 4 years old, and it starts in most children. If you ask a child when they're 4, what do you want to be when they grow up? They don't second guess their answer. They don't think, I wonder if I have the skill sets for that, or I wonder how much that pays, or I wonder if I'm pretty enough, or they just say, This is what I want to be, prima ballerina, or, I'm going to be, for me, it was Little Miss America. My uncle used to say you were going to be Little Miss, and I believed it. And so wouldn't it be great to be that 4-year-old girl again and never have those limitations and to believe in yourself that way? But then, we all you go to high school where the mean girls are, and they start telling you things that, start to peck away at your confidence, to build their own confidence up. And so we start to do that. And that starts to have an impact on us. You see it. I have teenage daughters. You see what happens when other people tell you what you're not instead of what you are.
Absolutely.
And as we talked earlier, it doesn't go away, right? Once it imprints that you are not pretty enough or talented enough, you believe that too. And then as it progresses, and you go over, as things happen over time, and you have more and more responsibilities in your life. So, in your 20s and 30s, you get your first job and an apartment and your first car and all the things that life takes you. Well, then your ability to feel free to make big changes in your life starts to close up because you have bills to pay and you have a boss and you have, maybe a spouse, and then you go on and you have children, and all of a sudden for women, we don't feel like we have choices anymore.
Well, not only do we feel like we don't have choices anymore, but we also you know what? Can you put the headset back in? Because there's feedback, and I think we were better with that. I'm sorry, Tara, because it's going to drive people nuts. I did this once before, and I got all these people writing me, don't do it. So let me know when, can you still hear me?
I can hear you fine.
All right, great. So, in addition to having this life where we have the limitations, like real things we have to handle, like the bills and the kids, we also still have those, the old programming of we're not okay the way we are, we're not pretty enough because of the messages we got when we were growing up. I mean, that's my wheelhouse. That's what I help people to undo those thoughts. Put the two together, the wiring of we can't do that because we're not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough. And we have all the circumstances that say, well, you can't because that's too risky. People really do feel a lot of fear and get really stuck. So, so what have you discovered in that arena, in helping people to move forward in that scared, stuck place?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you're fine. Thanks.
Okay, great. So I think what we've discovered, and we've been doing this for a long time, is that we need some criteria and filters before we take a leap. Because, if you just say to somebody, just go for it, you might put them on welfare, or you might, help them ruin relationships that could have otherwise been healthy. So I don't think it's a good idea to just tell everyone you should just go for it, because that's not always realistic.
Yep.
I see corporate women that say they want to start their own businesses. Well, they have to fill a paycheck before they can do that. So in my research, what I've learned to find a filter is to say that there's 3 key things that a woman, actually all people, but women in particular, should look at before they decide to make that big shift in their life or, take the big leap. And the first thing is determination. And that's a really important one. It has to be a fire in you. There's, I always think about I Love Lucy, that episode where she's got the chocolate on the conveyor belt, that famous one.
Classic.
Right. Everybody can picture that. So if you think about that and you equate each piece of chocolate like an opportunity, and you think about it coming down towards you. Well, the reality in life is there's going to be lots of opportunities. You don't just always have to take one just because it landed in front of you. There might be a better, sweeter, more delicious opportunity coming down behind it. So you have to know what you want. You have to go back to what's your why on this planet, what you're here for. And that's a lot of self-work, and I think you do that in your business, but women don't, because we've backburnered our lives so much, sometimes we forget what we really want for us. Absolutely. And we might look at that as selfish when actually it's probably the most giving thing you can do, because they say happy wife, happy life, but I mean, it's all of that. A happy woman can change the world.
I'm so right there with you. I mean, that, I hear that often where people say, well, it's so selfish to want, but it is about showing up fully. I'm always talking to people about when they limit themselves, limit their hearts, limit their passions, they are keeping their gifts from the world and everyone they touch. I don't know where I heard this. It might have been Tony Robbins, where when we were growing up, going back to when you were little, when you were thinking and dreaming what you wanted, you didn't have the limitations, you just said it. I think it was Tony Robbins that said, when we were growing up, we didn't say, when I grow up, I want to live an ordinary, mediocre life. I'm just going to wake up feeling and just not going to take care of myself because it's just okay the way that is. And it's just, it'll be okay. I mean, that's not how we're wired. And I truly believe we're here on this planet to make a big difference. And we do have so many gifts. And it's one of the things about Big I love is you really create a place for people to shine their light. And what you just said is so important. What's the why? And getting the structure behind it so it actually can be successful. So absolutely, step 1 for sure. Get clear on what it is that's really juicing you,
right.
And then and get some sort of organization around it so that you can actually move toward it in a healthy way.
Right. And that takes a lot of work, because we spend a lot of time taking care of other people. And I think that's a good thing. I'm not one of those people, obviously when I had that opportunity, I stepped out of the workforce rather than have a nanny raise my children. And I'm not judging people that do have that, but for me, that didn't work for me at that time. And so, we need to take some time and really put ourselves in environments that allow us to do some, inner work, which is not in a daily life of this crazy world that we live in. There's very limited amounts of time, especially as a mom or, people, as soon as the kids come home from school, it's the second job or, as soon as you're done with your 70-hour work week, your 90-hour work week, you've got to come home and take care of all the things that haven't been done. It's a lot. So you have to have that determination and it has to be true to yourself. That's number 1. But the second thing that has to happen is, you have to have the timing has to be right in your life. And we've got to give ourselves a break if the timing isn't right.
Right.
I mean, again, that chocolate conveyor belt, there's other opportunities. We've been doing Big for 7.5 years and I have women.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But we've had women that have come, left, come back. We've had women that have been on our mailing list for 5 years and said, it wasn't right for me 3 years ago. It is right for me now. And you know what? We've got to give ourselves a break to be able to say, if the timing isn't right, it's okay. Don't put yourself into like the pinhole of a needle and say, I've got to do this too. It has to work for your life. So timing has to be right. And that's true of whether you're going to take a new job or start a new career or move across the country or even, go to exercise class, right? I mean, you can't pop out of bed at a 6 o'clock workout class if you've got 2 kids that got to get on the bus at 7.
Yep.
So the timing has to be right. And you have to add those things into your life. What's the timing? And then the third thing is you need a support system underneath you.
Yep.
We're not in this by ourselves. We have to have the support of each other. And if you don't have it in your personal life, then find organizations that offer it to you. So you get your tribe and you have people, whether it's in your neighborhood, whether it's your best girlfriends, whether it's an organization like ours, big, where the women are there to support you. That's the purpose. They're not there to build themselves up for themselves at your expense.
Yep.
They're there to support you. And that's when you have those 3 things all aligned, then you've done your due diligence to say, you know what? I'm going to take the leap. And I don't think you should do it much before that.
That's great.
And that's kind of, we're in such a great time of our lives right now. It's so exciting when you think about women and the opportunities that we have right now. Gloria Steinem was the sexual revolution, and this time is the financial revolution. There's, we contribute a lot to the economic economy. We are the new business owners. We are the women. If you look at the top businesses on the planet, they're women-oriented businesses, things in wellness and healthcare, things in education, things that keep us healthy and happy. Those are the areas that are growing. The beauty business is growing and the design business is growing. Women are making a huge difference. And it's, you want to be in the game, but you want to do it in a way that you feel balanced.
So well said. As you're talking, I'm thinking one of the things I've complained about through the years, especially when I was a mom to a young kid, was how hard it was doing everything on my own, and how, like, I used to joke, I want to go back to the times when we lived in small villages and the men would go hunting and the women would sit around and everyone would support each other and we'd all have our strengths and be in it together.
Right.
And I felt that absence. What I'm seeing more and more is the web is really starting to come together again. Women are supporting each other. They're guiding each other. It's not the way it's been. It's still, a lot of us are still doing a lot of things on our own, but we really are helping each other more and more. And the more connections there are and the more relationships we foster, I believe it's such a stronger web that can sustain so much more than doing everything on our own.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we're not good at asking for help, right? Because that's considered a weakness
in this culture, for sure.
So we don't do that, and we're lonely. We're very lonely when we're all by ourselves. I mean, I love, we're sitting here in our houses on our computers right now, watching each other, right?
Yeah.
And that's good. And Facebook is good because you connect with people, but it's not the same.
It's not the same
as being in the room with other people. It's not the same as really, really knowing people. I mean, It's almost insulting over that Facebook calls those connections friends.
Yeah.
A friend is a much more valuable person in your life. And to casually use that almost feels degrading to what a friend is. And we end up isolating ourselves. So we do need to be together, and men are wonderful, but they're not women and they don't always understand us.
Yep.
So, we are emotional beings. One of the things I found in my, research, we have 2 emotional centers in our brain, women do, and it's connected, your left and right brain. Men only have 1. And just biologically, we're not the same. So it's not a good or bad, it's just a biology thing. But knowing that means that it's okay for us to do business and live our lives emotionally and not be ashamed or feel bad for that. Because we're wired that way. Why fight nature?
Yep. Yeah. So big, believe, inspire, and grow. Let's dive into that, because this is your baby. It's in the Northeast. I don't know how big it is right now, how big is. But I want our viewers to know if it's in their neck of the woods, and if it's not, to at least be inspired by its concepts so that they can also either find something similar in their neck of the woods or create it. So tell us about your baby.
Oh, well, it's actually my women's baby because we've gifted it, part of starting an organization like this is another thing that women have to learn to do better is give up control. And I had to go through that process myself when I started this, because it meant people were going to run these meetings and these groups outside of me, and I was going to hope that they do a good job. And, you know, they do an amazing job, and they made Big is the organization it is because I had let go, given them ideas and thoughts that I thought worked for me, and let them take those and then embellish them for how they work for them. And that's why we have over 625 active members right now. We've had over 2,700 women be members since we started, and we have a database of almost 6,000 people. There's something missing out there for women. Connection, true connection. You know, there's lots of networking and there's lots of business building, but there's not a lot of authentic places where you can go and be safe and supported and not be afraid that somebody might hurt your feelings or insult you or put you down or make you feel like you have to do more. This is a place you can be vulnerable, and it's saying, I need some help, because you can assume that the people in the room are only there to help you. And then in kind, it's hopeful that you're there to help them. And so we take it, we kind of flip networking on its head. And the idea, you know, that you go and you're going to get all these business cards and you're going to get all this business and you're going to do all this. We're the give place. We're there. Show up to give first, because women are excellent at building relationships based on know, like, and trust. And those are the way to build long-term business, is based on relationship. Whenever the economy goes south, transactional businesses die, but long-term relationship businesses thrive. Absolutely. Because that's, you know, we've built authentic, real connections.
So tell us more about Big. I mean, I've been a member. I've gone to multiple meetings and learned so much about, well, you have presenters in the meetings teaching different skill sets. Give our viewers a sense of what are the opportunities here in Big.
Sure. Well, this is a really exciting time for Big, because we've actually opened up the floodgates, and we're going to be able to help women in a more vibrant way. So up for the past 7 years, Big is basically helping women like me, who were me, start businesses, because we wanted women to understand that they can be professionally fulfilled in their life and keep their family and personal life sacred. And the channel we use for that is entrepreneurship. Because if you can build your own business, then theoretically you can have control of your own time and make your own money and not be, you know, at the beck and call of a boss or a corporation. And that's worked wonderfully. But in the past couple years, we know that we are more than an entrepreneur organization. We're an empowerment organization, because our mission is to help women live the lives that they are meant to live, similar to what your mission is.
Yeah.
But rather than do it individually, we do it in groups. So if we are really, truly an empowerment organization, then my vision is that we have to help women in all those key areas of their life where they need support, not just building the business.
Absolutely.
If our whole life isn't aligned, then we can't be fulfilled, right? So we are now offering, in addition to entrepreneurship ideas and tools and meetings, things that support women in wellness and self-care and beauty and fashion, wellness, self-care, and we consider beauty and fashion under that. Things to deal with your relationships. So whether that's how to raise happy, healthy children, because honestly, you can be the best entrepreneur, the richest entrepreneur, you have a miserable family life and you're miserable. So what good does that do?
Yeah.
And, you know, unfortunately, you know, relationships come and go, and there's a lot of divorce, and we want to be there to help you navigate that, because that's a devastating time for a woman.
Sure.
And a lot of our members have gone through it and come out fine on the other side. And we want to, you know, address that elephant in the room and help women navigate that, both from a financial perspective, but also through an emotional perspective. And then for the women that are in the age groups that we tend to be on, our parents are aging. And that's another call for us to be able to navigate when you get that phone call that said, you know, your mother broke her hip, or we're starting to see signs of Alzheimer's. How do you if we want to continue our goals, then we need to be able to know what to do when that crisis happens. Yeah. And so we're so fortunate, because within our organization, we have so many women who are brilliant on all of these topics.
That's just great. I mean, when you speak about that, I just keep thinking holistic. It's like you have all these pieces to the puzzle of a human being. This is not just about having a successful business. It's not just about finding balance between children, family, and business. This is about a life, and this is about stepping strongly in our life and learning from each other and having the resources of each other. And the fact that you're talking about wellness and elder care. I mean, these are the pieces of a very big puzzle called life. And without that balance, things don't work. So it's,
Right.
you know, like you have this pie and you have all these pieces to the pie, you know, and if they're not all fully balanced, it's going to, you know, that wheel is going to, it's going to be very rickety. And what I hear is you're really tapping into all these parts to help people across the board, body, mind, spirit, everything. That's just beautiful.
Yeah. The fourth channel is our home. You know, I mean, we care about our home. We wouldn't be watching HGTV all the time and the Cooking Network as much as we do if we didn't care about these things. And so these are all the things, you know, we could be what's for dinner is always on our, you know, as the question of the day. So we need to address these. And we are just, the reason I can say that we can offer this is not because we're such an amazing, extraordinary group, but we are an amazing, extraordinary
I was just saying, but you are.
But not just because of me, but because of all of these amazing women that are now magneted and it's a sisterhood and they want to support each other. Their businesses are these industries. We have personal chefs and we have home interior designs and realtors and we have you know, therapists that help you. We have divorce attorneys. We have childcare experts. We have all these people that are under this umbrella. Now they get a platform to promote their services to each other beyond just the people that were doing things in the entrepreneurial platform. So we're really excited. It seems to really, you know, address a lot of women. And I think the reason that we're, you know, growing is because nobody paid attention to those women before. You know, it was a gap. It was a little bit of a gap. People were either in business or not in business, you know, or you're a stay-at-home mom or, you know, and a lot of women, you talked about fear before. Number one cause of stopping, fear, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fear of failure. And, you know, if you don't try, you've already failed, right? So we want to give you the tools. You know, when I left the workforce, the internet was just getting started. And I didn't know if I was going to even know how to, you know, send an email. It didn't exist. It sounds crazy, but it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I feel passionate about, and a lot of the women do too, is that, you know, we have to be the right role models for our daughters and our nieces and our, you know, the younger generation in our lives. And if we are going to sit there and woe is me and say, I can't, and say, I can't because of this and because of that and because of this, and I wish I was that, but I never was, then shame on us. Because what messages are you sending to these girls that something's going to happen and they're not going to be able to? That's not the message we want them. That's not why we're investing our livelihood in their future.
Again, great role model. Not only are you taking care of your family, you're taking care of yourself, you're showing your kids what a balanced human being looks like, or certainly striving to be a healthy, balanced human being. I mean, this is what makes, you know, a healthy life for all of us and the world. I mean, seriously, this is about communities, our culture, and the world. I mean, this is enormous.
And it's not easy. I'm sorry, it's not easy, right? I mean, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. I can hear my daughter walking upstairs. I had to text her to not talk. The dog is somewhere else, so the dog doesn't bark. You know, I mean, let's not pretend that life goes according to plan, even with all these other things in place, right?
You know, I was just going to go there, so that was perfect. Perfect segue. And my dog is in my car as we speak.
Yes.
You know, and
I have to do what we have to do, right?
I saw someone walk by. I'm like, oh, now he's all stressed because there's someone walking by. But exactly, life is not going to be perfect, and we get thrown curveballs. And that's the other thing about support is, you know, life can be hard.
And it can be. And it's never going to be what you think it's going to be, you know?
Exactly. And so what I know from the meetings is we learn some life skills to handle all those things as well. I'm curious, you know, is this your main thing now? Is this, you know, is big your full-time job? Is there something else? Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to tell you that it pays my mortgage, because it doesn't. But people have told me all the time, you know, increase your prices and this is so valuable. And, you know, but I don't want to do it that way, because, you know, we are a for-profit. And the reason we're a for-profit is because we profess that women should have money in their lives, right?
Yep.
And money is fuel. And if you don't have money, you can't do a lot of things that women with money have. And so we find that a very important tool. and we want to walk the walk with you. So I'm not pretending that we don't make money, and we're not trying to make money, because we are. And we think that's a good thing, because
it's a totally good thing. Yes.
Yep. And money, women have so many money issues. I mean, there's guilt, and there's fear, and there's too much money, and there's not enough money. And that's a whole other show for you.
I think. It is.
But so we want to do this because the basic premise of this whole thing is that I really find the money will follow the mission, is how and anytime I distracted myself from why I'm doing this, my why, I go back to that. Why did I do this? Why did I send an email? Because there was something missing in my life, and it turned out there was something missing in a lot of other women's lives that made us feel that our purpose wasn't being fulfilled.
Yep.
And that's why. Now, the money that we charge women for is to pay for the cost of what it takes to make this thing happen, and to pay the people the fair amount of money that they deserve to make it happen. That's the why of why there's money. That's the way it should work.
Absolutely. People sometimes don't realize that there is such a thing called overhead, and that if we don't charge and we don't make a certain amount of money, that the wonderful things that we appreciate disappear because we can't make ends meet. And I hear that you're on fire with your passion to create this space for people to keep growing and to believe in themselves that they really can make a difference and have this whatever their dream is manifested with the support of a community. I mean, that's just such a big message.
Right. But I will tell you that there's also a part of me. So we're successful, right? We're successful. What is success to us? We're successful. We have 600 women. It's working. We have a system. We can grow. We can scale. My goal is to scale and have 10,000 members in the next 5 years. And I've figured out a way that I think we can do that. Except money isn't driving this. It's the desire to be perceived as successful in anyone's eyes that drives it. Right? And that's important too. So women get big. Women understand big. They say, oh my God, that's so amazing. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what we need. Men tend to understand it to say, yeah, my wife would be good and big. Some evolved men, I don't want to put them all in the category, get it better than that. But they always say, what's your business model? How are you making money?
Yep.
Right? That's the question that they ask very much sooner than what a woman would ask.
Yep.
And I want to be able to say, you want to know how I'm making money? I mean, I think about Oprah, right? She's one of the most philanthropic, people, I don't know now with her Weight Watchers investments and things, but back in her day, the reason she grew her entity, Harpos, was because she did it on mission, right? She found a place that women weren't being supported, and she supported them. And that built her into a multi-million-dollar industry. But she's a multi-millionaire, and she's one of the most philanthropic women on the planet. They go parallel. They shouldn't be one or the other.
So well said.
And so we really want that for women. And those fortunate women that don't have to make money, myself included, because my spouse is paying the bills, that's a gift. But guess what? We talk about life changing. That could change in a heartbeat for any one of us. And we should be prepared for the what ifs in life, whether it's health, or whether it's divorce, or whether it's illness, or who knows. But it's a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, I'm not going to put me on the screen right now. I'm just going to talk to you, because you have just the whole why thing, and the whole passion behind it, and coming from your heart and wanting to make a difference. I want to put up the offer, because you are extending a special to people that are listening to join Big. So I'm putting it up right now. It's on the sidebar for you guys to take advantage of. Tara, do you want to just give them a little sense of what joining Big gives them?
Sure. And you did ask me where we are, so I'll share that. So we have been in a lot of different communities. We are throughout the Northeast. We started in New Jersey. It's our largest place. We have over 25 groups in New Jersey right now that run every month. We're in New York City. We are in Connecticut. And Connecticut, there's Southern Connecticut and Northern Connecticut, and we're in both places. And we're in Boston, Massachusetts, and Cape Cod. So that's where we are now. We have in the past been in Atlanta, Chicago. For us, in order to go to outside of the regions that we're in, we really need strong leadership. And as you know, good leaders are not a dime a dozen. They don't come out of the woodwork. It takes a certain kind of passionate woman to want to empower women and reach out to their community and be a leader. And so we're very picky right now as to who we let, work with us, because we have a very high caliber of criteria. We want to give our members the absolute best, and we want to make sure that the women that lead our groups give them that and are committed to that.
That's great.
So anyone in the region where we exist are welcome to come to our meetings. We actually have an app you can go, or our website, which is believeinspiregrow.com. We just revamped our website so you can see where it says Why Big and take yourself on a little tour of our organization. We have some member experiences, and we have a little snippets from some of our meetings, and they can kind of understand where we are. And if they want to join, just as an added incentive, we'll take $10 off the membership. They just have to use the code JUNIE, Junie, after you, Junie. And we'll be happy to do that. A membership dues is very low. We keep it very low on purpose so that women don't use that as the excuse.
Yep.
So it's $29.95 a month or $239 a year, and that comes out to about $19. And so we think you're worth $19. And you can go to any meeting, anywhere, anytime, as many as you want in a given month. There's no extra cost. And we do that because we care about these women and we want them.
Absolutely. And one of the things that when I started Big was they're called pods, these groups of women called pods, and that people would say, you could pod hop. And I'm like, pod hopping? Now, that sounds like fun. What is that? It really is a special thing to be able to keep meeting lots of different women and different groups and feeling the different energies of the different groups. You have events that also bring more information to people and summits. And you really have so many resources beyond the meeting. But even if it was just going to the meetings to get that support and growth, it's so worth it for sure.
Oh yeah. No, we have so many. And again, it's because the women keep bringing more and more opportunities and we keep saying yes. But I do want to share why we call them pods, because that's kind of an interesting story. So when I started Big and people said, what are we going to call the next group and the next group? And I said, we're not going to call them a group. We're going to call them a pod. And when we had to write the leader's manual, they had to tell me why. And I needed a real reason, not just because I liked it, right? The name. So I do what everybody does when they don't know something. I Googled it. And the first definition of a pod is it's a place where seedlings grow. So I was like, right? So every woman comes in and they're going to grow, which is, believe, inspire, grow. Great. But the second meaning of the word pod is even more important. And it's the fact that the most intelligent creatures on the planet, dolphins, whales, and elephants, they travel in groups called pods for the purpose of circumventing obstacles. So they find that they're better when they travel together to overcome the obstacles they face. And so when I heard that, the next day, my team said, so why do we call them pods? I'm like, I'm going to tell you why, right? And there's two lessons here, and I'll finish the first part of the story. So that was all great. And 3 weeks after we decided to call them pods, I went down with my family to Florida, and we went on a dolphin cruise. And, you pay your $49, you better see a dolphin. So sure enough, we're traveling about 30 minutes into it, and the captain says, over to the right is a dolphin. And there was one single dolphin over there, and the group runs over, and he said, that's a male dolphin. And I go up to the captain. I'm like, how do you know that's a male dolphin from here? And he said, because males always travel alone. Female dolphins always travel together in pods. And so the biggest lesson of this whole thing is that I had an instinct to call them something called pods, even though I didn't have the facts behind why. And the instincts prevail. And one of the lessons I want women to know is that we've pushed our instincts down and not let them have a surface because we've been challenged on what's the facts behind why you think that. Mm-hmm. And I would say to you, if you feel it's true, and just find the facts behind the feelings. And we have a special set of gifts and talents called instincts. And, those of you who are mothers know that you wake up before your sick child does. That's, an instinct that is, built in our DNA.
Yep.
And we need to trust our instincts more. And if women trusted their instincts more, some of the things that is happening in the world would be different.
Wow. I just, that story is just so perfect and represents everything that you were just talking about us all being together in this and growing together and then following that instincts inside. I mean, just, that's beautiful. My last show, or my second to last show, was on intuition, and really being able to tap into that inner knowing, and how it really opens us up to so much information. But in our culture and how we've been trained, this blah, 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 we can keep talking about the programming of not listening to our gut, but to really get back there, because there is so much wisdom. And when we share it with each other, magic happens. And you've been such an amazing guest, Tara. Thank you so much for being here. I can't believe
this is great. This was so much fun.
It's just like zipped by. So if you're interested in big, and I hope you are, definitely at least go to the website, believeinspiregrow.org. Was it?
.com.
And the offer is still up. If you're interested in knowing more about my work, I forgot to tell you before, my website is innercritictamer.com, and I help people lower the volume on their inner critics, those messages that keep people stuck too. So we need it all. We need it all. So Tara, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being here, and we are complete for today. Blessings to you all. Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.